Lowe's knows how to freshen up your yard, and it all starts with mulch. That's why we're introducing Mulch Week during SpringFest with can't-miss savings. Right now, get 5 bags of Stay Green Premium Color 2 cubic foot mulch for only $10. Plus, members earn 5 times the points on select mulch purchases all week long. Lowe's, we help, you save. Valid through 4/9. Loyalty program subject to terms and conditions. Points are awarded on eligible purchases. Details at lowes.com/terms. Subject to change. Excludes Alaska and Hawaii.
Today on CityCast Boise, the Treasure Valley Canopy Network was ready to expand their tree planting efforts from Meridian to Caldwell. But when the Trump administration froze funding, their plans unraveled, leaving them scrambling to pay past due bills. We're digging into why urban forestry matters and how local partners are working to keep the dream alive. It's Monday, April 7th. I'm Lindsay Van Allen, and this is what Boise's talking about. Joining me today is Lance Davison, Executive Director for the nonprofit Treasure Valley Canopy Network. Thanks so much for coming on the show, Lance.
Thank you, Lindsay.
Just to kick things off, what is the Treasure Valley Canopy Network? What is urban forestry, and why is it so important for our region?
That is an excellent question. So this organization started back around 2013 doing our work. At that time, we had a group of concerned citizens and companies, nonprofit organizations that wanted to learn more about our urban forest. So the urban forest is the trees and green space in and around your home, in our parks, along the streets, and it provides a lot of benefits to our community for air quality, water quality, quality of life. If you have a strong tree canopy in front of your home, for example, we've learned that often that helps the sale price of your home. Just think about the north end of Boise. How many people love to be in the north end during those hot summer days? So it reduces the heat on the hot summer days with the shade. So there are a lot of benefits of our urban tree canopy. And in the Treasure Valley, those trees don't grow without being carefully tended to. They need to be irrigated and taken care of. So when we started the organization, there really wasn't anybody other than some of the city parks departments doing this kind of work. So we partner with all the city parks departments across the Treasure Valley, and our nonprofit helps to raise awareness about the benefits of our urban and community forests. So we like to say we help Treasure Valley plan for, plant, and grow trees, because it's about so much more than just planting that tree. It's taking care of it long term.
So what are some of the projects that you've been working on to develop the urban forest in our area?
One of the projects that happened right before COVID with City Council President at the time, Elaine Clegg in Boise, was the City of Trees Challenge. So Elaine challenged us at the time to, in Boise, plant 1 tree for every household. So that's 100,000 urban trees, and 1 tree for every resident in an Idaho forest. And that is 235,000 trees, which we have planted those trees, those forest seedlings in Boise National Forest on the Pioneer Fire Burn Scar. So that is just one example of a program that we are implementing over the course of the next 10 years in partnership with Boise. And then we also had an Idaho Power Shade Tree project that ran for 10 years that helped plant trees to the west side of people's homes to reduce peak season energy use. So we have several programs. Another one, which people think is interesting because we plan for, plant, and grow trees, is when trees must come down, we would love to recycle the nice, pretty ones and have them grow our local economy. So that is our urban wood network that is recycling trees that come down. And we have partners that make benches, fancy tables, artwork out of them. So we like to think of the whole circle of that resource. And probably what we might talk about soon is our really exciting announcement that we came out with last year. We were awarded $1.1 million from the U.S. Forest Service to plan for, plant, and grow trees beyond City of Boise in communities like Caldwell, Nampa, Meridian. And so that is something that we started last year, really expanding our programming all across the valley.
And was that program going to help build up the tree canopy in the western part of the Treasure Valley? So like Meridian, Nampa, Caldwell?
Yep, exactly. So we are lucky that we have Meridian and Nampa have been members of the Canopy Network for some time. And so we do work with them, but we don't have a ton of funding. So we're able to support a lot of things like Arbor Day events and some small projects. But in order to do this at a larger scale, we need that funding boost. And so that federal funding is our funding boost to help those cities even more than we already do.
So, Lance, I think the question is, if we're talking about federal funding, the Trump administration has had some federal grant freezes. So was your program affected? And can you walk us through maybe how that might have impacted your projects?
Definitely. So that grant award was awarded through the Inflation Reduction Act, which was passed by Congress under the Biden administration. When the Trump administration took over, they froze that grant program. And so that grant program put $1.5 billion on the ground for planting and growing trees across the country. And our project was also frozen. So what we have is, the good thing is that's not our only funding source, but it was a big chunk of funding. And so what we had to do, we decided after finding out in February that it was frozen, and then taking a look at our budget, we understood that we had about a $70,000 budget hole, which is about 30% of our budget. So we said, well, first, we need to freeze that program. We can't afford to implement that program to the west. So that was frustrating for our staff and frustrating for the people that we were going to serve. And then we looked at what do we have reserves in the bank, because part of our staffing is also paid by that grant. And so we said, okay, we can keep our staff on for a while because we've been smart with our finances and we have some funding in the bank. So we sent out an email to all our members to just kind of letting them know this is where we're at. We are used to federal administrations changing, but something this large was not an impact that we were used to. So we have stopped the programming. We have notified everybody. We are keeping our staff on board, and we're also boosting our fundraising as well. So there are ways that people can help us fill that gap. And then about 3 weeks ago, we knew the federal funding had frozen. We were still doing our work that was funded. And all of a sudden, one of our past due invoices from January had been paid. So we're like, oh, this is very exciting. And we talked to our Forest Service partners, and I feel for them. They basically said, yeah, you should still keep invoicing us and we will still pay as long as we can, but we don't really have a lot of direction from our leadership on what this is going to look like. So it is a pretty precarious time for our organization, but we are committed to, one, raising alternative funds, so other public funding, private funding, philanthropy funding, and then just trying to find a way to keep moving forward and slowly, hopefully, start implementing that program to the west as we had planned to do.
It seems like the work that you're doing is kind of time sensitive, kind of seasonally sensitive. And so how will these programs be impacted by this kind of month to month uncertainty?
Quite a bit. But like I said, we are hopeful. We always look for opportunities, but we also acknowledge it's difficult. One thing that we were able to do is we had to freeze all of our spring plantings. So we had 3 plantings planned across the Treasure Valley. We stopped those, which not only affects us, it affects the nurseries who we were going to buy trees from. And so that happened. We were able to, luckily, through our fundraising efforts and our partnerships, we will have a spring tree planting coming up in Boise that we were able to get funded through a corporate partner and Arbor Day Foundation. So that's great. And now we have a spring planting season and a fall planting season. So now we're optimistic and going to start planning for fall planting. And hopefully by then we'll have enough money in the bank that we can make those large purchases and hope that that invoice gets paid by the Forest Service, but be able to back it up with other funding if we don't have it. So it's a time of transition and change. But like I said, we've got to be smart. We can't spend money we don't have. This is all reimbursable funding. But we also don't want to just stop this important work. So it's many pieces of the puzzle, but our staff is very motivated. Our board and staff are out launching some fundraising campaigns and doing all we can. And we found a lot of help from the community, which is wonderful. The places that we've invested realize that investment's beneficial. So, like I said, it is precarious, it is difficult, it is frustrating, but we're not going to give up doing the good work for the communities we serve.
Hey friends, it's Lindsay, and I have some big news. CityCast Boise is doing our first ever live podcast taping, and you're invited. Join us next Tuesday at noon at the iconic Boise Depot, where we're digging into the transportation question of the century. Could passenger trains really return to our city? The Depot is celebrating its 100th anniversary, and while it's a beloved landmark, will it ever be a working station again, or is that just the nostalgia talking? Mayor Lauren McLean and Amtrak board member Elaine Clegg will be there to break it all down, and you'll get a chance to ask your questions too. So come be part of the conversation Tuesday, April 15th from noon to 1 at the Depot. There will be a food truck, comfy seating, and a great discussion waiting for you. Can't wait to see you there.
Take me out to the ball game.
What are you doing?
Did you know DirecTV has the most MLB games?
So, you're singing.
Yeah, they put your favorite teams front and center right when you turn it on. Buy me some cold cuts and flapjacks.
Those aren't even the words.
I'm allergic to peanuts.
Stream DirecTV, home of the most MLB games. Visit DirecTV.com. Claim based on total games offered on national and regional sports networks. RSNs available with choice package or higher. Availability of RSNs varies by zip code and package.
How has this uncertainty affected your agreements or contracts with local businesses, nurseries, local governments? What are those conversations like right now?
They are very similar to the conversation I'm having with you, because in leading an organization like this that is so tied to working with government, nonprofit, and private sector, we realize that we're all interconnected. So regardless of who's in office, regardless of what's going on politically in our communities, we know that we want to help communities by planning for planting and growing trees. We know that we rely on the private sector to grow those trees so they're healthy and ready for us to plant. We know we rely on the city to help us make this happen and grow their robust program. And so we come together with our partners and we're just very open and honest. This is our situation. If you can help with funding, that would be wonderful. If not, let's lean in and find the opportunities to do more with less at times. But I think the important thing to me is to be open and honest about where we're at. It's a situation that many people are in. We're not the only ones, but we believe we can get through it together, and we build a strong community that is resilient. And that is part of why we keep doing our work, and we don't just fold up and walk away.
And you mentioned that the westward project into Meridian, Nampa, Caldwell, that's been stalled, or it's kind of on the back burner now, correct?
I would say that we had to completely stop it this spring, but it's a month by month thing, right? So we are optimistic that the freeze is thawing and hopeful that we can launch in the fall, and we're making plans to do that.
So what will be the impact in those areas with this different timetable, or kind of this slowed timetable? What maybe would be an impact, or what do these cities and residents stand to lose by having to wait?
They lost out on trees being planted this spring that would have helped in communities that had low tree canopy that are going to have a hot summer ahead. So that is one impact that we can say definitely happened. The other impact is if we can't launch this program, it's a 5-year grant. So we have $1.1 million to spend over 5 years. And we're going into these communities and working with residents to help. We're going to launch a Treasure Valley Tree Captains program. So volunteers that learn how to take care of trees, how to plant trees, help us find the places in the community to plant those trees. We're doing that. We're helping do some tree care, working with the private sector as well. So some of this funding will go to the private sector, both to purchase trees and also to work with tree care professionals. So if that doesn't happen, then we aren't able to implement our programs in those other communities. Like I said, we're putting our heads together with them. I think there are some opportunities to find some other funding sources, but if this completely shuts down, they will miss out on the opportunity that we built together to use federal funds to help make our communities more healthy in Nampa, Caldwell, Meridian, going west.
And when you're talking about these alternative funding sources or partnerships, have you found that with this federal freeze and this uncertainty, is the public or private sector, are they really stepping up? Or is the community coming together for this? Or is your organization kind of having to scramble to find funding?
I would say all of the above. City of Boise has been great, and they've been able to find funding to help us out even before this, which allowed us to do a lot of more work in Boise. So that is very helpful, having leadership at City of Boise supporting that. We are in conversations with City of Nampa right now and potentially finding some funding to assist as well. When we sent out the announcement, our letter from the executive director, we received a few really kind notes to our staff and a few private donations as well. And we actually will be launching today, if you look on our Instagram and social media accounts, our Canopy Champions program, which allows any individual to become a monthly donor to our nonprofit organization. And they'll be recognized in our newsletter and also receive a Canopy Champion sticker as well. So I would say that we're scrambling for sure, but we also are really strongly rooted in our communities. They want to help us. And I'm always optimistic because I don't like the alternative.
Shade City Brewfest has become quite popular. People are really excited about it this year. What can attendees expect at this year's festival?
Well, that's a great question. So the whole Shade City Brewfest started really right before COVID. We have done a lot of work with Lost Grove Brewing. We love that team there. And we came up with this idea, what if we created the coolest party for Earth Day? And we raised awareness about the benefits of our environment. We brought together and highlighted all the wonderful companies that are doing great work in sustainability around our community. And what if we show we could do a low to zero waste event? So it started during COVID. It has grown into the party of the year, we think, on Earth Day at Idaho Botanical Garden. Come wear your 70s swag, bring your own cup. Last year we had, I think, for a 2-day event, we had something like only 3 bags of garbage. So we're proving that you can have a large event, you can have a great time, but if you use dishes that we wash there, thanks to our friends at Route Zero Waste Market, we can have a low waste event and have a good time. So this year's event, we are actually going to have one day on Saturday is going to be the public party. It's going to be great. We're going to have music. We're going to have food, games. And if you're interested in being a sponsor as well, you can be a sponsor. And we're going to have a private event with sponsors and the breweries on Friday. And so we're kind of, every year we mix it up to see what we can do better. But it is fun to hear that it is a top event for people to go to. People have a great time. There are tickets on sale right now on the website, and we can provide that link and follow up as well.
I saved maybe the hardest question for last here. What's your vision for the Treasure Valley's urban forest, and what needs to happen to make that a reality?
What is interesting about me, if you get to know me really well, I definitely have a connection to the environment and nature, which is very important. But I realize in our communities that relies on the shoulders of the people that steward that resource. And so my vision is becoming a reality with the Canopy Network. Luckily, I got to be the co-founder of this organization 10 years ago now. My vision is that our nonprofit organizations, our companies, our cities come together with a dream for a better future for all of our communities that includes the quiet shade underneath a tree, that includes an opportunity for us to raise our children in an environment where they feel safe, where we're not so hot in the summer that we are agitated with our neighbor. So my vision is more of a vision of community and resilience with the people combined with the environment.
Well, Lance, I think with your hope and looking towards the future, I think that could become a reality for our city. Thank you so much for taking the time to join me on the podcast and share a little bit about what's going on and how people can get involved.
Thank you so much, Lindsay. And I really appreciate the partnership with CityCast Boise and your listeners. Have a wonderful spring. The trees are getting their leaves on, and it's going to be a great spring ahead.
That's all for today here on CityCast Boise. If you enjoyed this episode, make sure and tell a friend about the show. We'll be back tomorrow morning with our last Capital Chatter episode of the year. You won't want to miss it.